Hi everyone. I got Sue back online, and she's got something else she's been researching that's very, very important, and it's concerning discernment and navigating the minefield, the discernment minefield. Can you explain that to us, Sue?
Yeah, Gary, again, I thank you on behalf of all of humanity for your tireless service. I came across an article. It's also on a YouTube video under the YouTube channel UFO SWIG from January 2nd called Discernment, Navigating the Spiritual Minefield by Christina Labers, Labers, who's a guest writer for Wake Up World. And this is really an important contribution because we're all told use discernment. What does that mean? We are not taught what discernment is or how to do it or how to feel it. There's so much involved in it. And at least this article goes into what it is not as we listen to other people. And I thought it would be useful for your audience to listen to. And I'm just going to go through little bits and pieces of it. You can find the greater work, again, on the UFO SWIG channel from January 2nd. Again, the article is called Discernment, Navigating the Spiritual Minefield. And what she goes through is the flavor of gurus that we are presented with. And she kind of outlines a number of them and what to watch out for. The first, she's a proponent of light. This is someone who focuses on love and light. Their practice can make the seeker feel good, feel like we are participating in something profound without actually enabling true deep transformation. It is crucial that we explore and integrate the darker aspects of ourselves. Only through integration of our own darkness can we truly become realized beings. So she's saying the proponent of light is giving you part of the picture that there's more to standing in our truth. Just the warm and fuzzy messages that we get. The next guru she calls the "You Are Special" guru. When information pertaining to our specialness is designed to appeal to the ego, it can be problematic. Some teachings one offers make seekers feel as though they are part of a special elite spiritual club, like you are the brave ones, you are special. The information appeals to the wounded of us. And so we have a sense of inflation that may occur. This inflation is not real growth because information allows us to distance ourselves from the feeling of inferiority by stepping into a feeling of superiority, which is just the other side of the same coin. True healing and humility occur when there is an acknowledgement and integration of both sides. She goes on to describe the arrogant teacher. When we are grappling with our own sense of worth, we might be inclined to believe that the arrogant teacher holds the secret we require. Spirituality is simple and is accessible to everyone. The answers are all within. A big aspect of spiritual journey is the process of recognizing when we have given away our power and taking back our own authority. Everyone is divine and capable of finding their own way. She then describes the hero. These people tend to have a strong focus on self-promotion. Their messages are usually framed in a way where the truth becomes secondary to promoting and maintaining a hero persona. But being able to step into our vulnerability is one of the most difficult and important qualities for a seeker to develop. Someone who is not able to be vulnerable cannot be in their integrity at all times. on to describe the Messianic guru. Seeker understands that it is all about perspective and appreciates the deep beauty and magic in the fact that we are all expressions of the divine, and thus each have the ability to touch that deep point within where we all meet. The Messianic guru, however, recognizes his or her divinity but has not yet understood it from the bigger picture. The danger is the underlying agenda that is subtly about supporting the teacher's distorted beliefs. Then there's the "they're coming to save us soon" guru. This one's really interesting. And again, I'm not reading the whole thing, but listen to what she has to say. This is someone who claims to be speaking on behalf of channeling higher beings who are coming to save us. It appeals to the victim mentality. It wraps the seeker in a sense of false hope and does nothing to encourage self-exploration and deep growth. It promotes a sense of helplessness in the seeker. It supports the victim mentality in persuading the seeker to hand their power over to an external force. The focus on soon also functions to keep the seeker focused on the future and not in the now, where our true power lies. And she adds that there are good channelers out there and good information. But again, it's important to also check in with ourselves and what seems to resonate as being true. She describes the gloom and doom merchant. I don't think I need to elaborate on that. We all know what that one is. And then there's the my way is the highway guru. These are the teachers who believe they have found or been shown the true path. In order to follow a teacher like this, the seeker is required to sacrifice something. The first thing is usually money for a book or workshop, which will reveal part of the secret true path. The second and most troubling thing, though, is that the seeker sacrifices their own power of self-direction. Usually it is the wounded aspect of a seeker that becomes attracted to this kind of teacher, the aspect that doesn't trust in our own ability to find our way. There is no right or wrong on the spiritual path. Different people learn different things at different times in different ways. She then summarizes all of it up in keys to remember. 1. Anything that tells us that we need to read a certain book, listen to certain music, or subscribe to a particular philosophy should be discarded. Of course, there's great stuff out there to help along one's journey, but while it may help, there is no required learning on the spiritual path. 2. Anything that tells us that the answer is outside ourself is a huge red flag. 3. Anything that leaves us with an overwhelming sense of despair is probably best avoided. 4. Anything that makes us feel good but doesn't encourage deep work is probably a waste of time. 5. Anything that encourages idolization of a leader is potentially dangerous to one's development. And she ends by saying, listen to our hearts. Do you have any reaction to that?
Yeah, I do. One is there's there's all kinds of things that are involved. First of all, it's faith, and you have to have the faith, and we're told that we are the temple of God, that He dwells in us, and that His Holy Spirit is in us, and so if we believe those things, we have to know how to use those things and how to communicate with those things, or that person, that entity, which is God. And so I believe that takes a lot of submission to and belief, and and searching for how communication is coming. And I think that uh, going deeper than what your mind is a key to it. And I think concentrating on what your intuition. We all know have experienced some form of intuition, and I believe that that's kind of the key to it. But it's a fine line, and these are things that I don't know how to even describe them. But it's a way of life. It's a way of our learning and our being and our sensitivity to the other things that are not quite of us, that are supernatural. Uh, and I'm probably not using the right terminology to even explain what I'm thinking, and maybe I don't even know what I'm thinking. But anyway, I just that's the thoughts that are coming to my mind now.
Well, we live in a paradigm that's been constructed to um, develop our minds, and there's near virtual lack of instruction and mentoring on growing our hearts and integrating that with our mind. They are both wings of the bird. Both are essential. It's hard to fly with just one of those wings flapping. We're not taught how to do that. And so I think many of us are struggling with, well, what is discernment? We're always told to discern, but what is it? Because there's such a paucity of training on that, of mentoring, of guiding on those spiritual and heart aspects. And so I would encourage people to share what one essential ingredient uh, they use or rely on in their own discernment, and share that in the comments so that we can all learn from each other what is discernment, because we've had nobody really help us with that.
In summarizing what is discernment, the only thing I can think is it's hearing God's voice, and and how do we know we're hearing God's voice? And it's something that we have to experience. It's a knowing that we know things that we've experienced. First of all, we think of all of our thoughts as being imagination, and that they're probably not true. But pretty soon we learn that imagination is a great asset, and that pretty soon we learn that every thought that we have is not our own thought. And some of it is coming from demonic forces, and some of it is coming from spiritual forces. So that takes, and I use the word discernment again, but we have to decide. We have to make a decision. We have to test everything. And so I think that she brings some good points up. But it's something that's pretty hard to define, but I think we can experience it. And it's like there is a learning process, and the learning process is don't be our education, I think, and what we've been taught, our own families have taught us how to avoid it, and which we need to do, at least my family, like I was learned all that's your imagination. Well, and so things that I think when God was speaking to me, sometimes I didn't listen to it because I was told that was my imagination. And I think that that was a thought that entered into my mind that wasn't of me, and that came from God. And of course, there's all kinds of satanic things that we're all faced with, and that our emotions and the things of our flesh, sex, and all those type of things that we have to keep under control. And I think that would probably summarize everything I know to say.
It's a wonderful discussion.
Okay, you're cutting up pretty bad, Sue, for some reason all of a sudden.
Okay, let me move around. I'm sorry. I think this is a wonderful and very fruitful discussion, and I hope it encourages people to think about this and consider and reflect and meditate on it. For me, I guess it comes down to, does this information ring with love, or does it ring with fear? And that's the best I know how to explain it.
Right.
I sure would like to hear from others. That's what I got. That's it.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for that. It's like, to me, it's like I'm thinking that almost there's many places in the Bible that seem to have an influence on how we discern and what God is and what God isn't, and all those things. We have to have some kind of a foundation, it seems, to kind of put up some boundaries where what's beyond the boundary and what isn't beyond the boundary. But there's an awful lot of in between there that can be that we need to learn about and be taught about. So I think it's an ongoing discovery that and I think more is being revealed to us all the time. That's what I think.
Great. Well, thank you for allowing this opportunity, Gary.
And thank you so much, Sue, for everything you said. And it's all very real, and it's something we all need to think about and pray about.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.